everyone, welcome to today's video. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of a getting out of my comfort zone makeup tutorial. So I haven't really been pushing myself creatively, I feel, and I haven't been really teaching myself anything new. So the one thing that really feels out of my comfort zone is rounded eyeshadow shapes. I actually love how this shape turned out, and it was super quick and easy to do. So I feel like instead of feeling like, oh God, am I gonna be able to do this? About halfway through this eye look, I ended up being like, okay, I can definitely do that. And it left me feeling a lot more inspired to try out other makeup styles that I feel for whatever reason are more complicated. Also, I am super excited to be working with Revlon for the eye portion of today's video. I'm going to be using some of their So Fierce products. I'm going to be using these two palettes, one of their mascaras, and an eyeliner to get today's eyeshadow look. Anyway, I hope that you guys find this tutorial informative, helpful, interesting, all of the above, and let's begin. Okay, so I am first going to begin with prepping my skin. For my primer, if you will, I'm going to be using this Auric Glow Lust. I've been using this to prime my skin for the last few days, and I haven't really been wearing foundation that much lately, and I really love how this looks with the more editorial, minimal skin situation. And a little bit goes a really long way. I used about half a pump just then. A full pump is almost too much for my face, so I really enjoy that though. And an illuminating product, especially one that's multi-use, I like that a little bit, goes a really long way. Anyway, I'm just applying this to the points of the face. For my base lately, I've been really loving the Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage in the shade SC-3. I use the lighter shade all over my face as a concealer. This shade is a little too dark for me, so I don't really use her. And I begin to just dab it on where needed. So lately I have been like having issues with my foundations looking like they're sitting on top of my skin. I have no idea why. Sometimes this will just randomly happen to me, and it's been happening for a lot longer than usual. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm sick of wearing foundation because my skin does not look like skin right now. It looks like I have 58 layers of makeup on. So I've been trying to do this more editorial skin look, which I also feel really fits with the vibe of today's video. And I find that this works best when you blend it out with a finger. It does take a little bit more time, obviously, to get it super smooth, especially since you're essentially spot concealing your whole face, but I feel like it holds the coverage a lot better. Once my face looks pretty even, I go in and do my under eyes and around my nose, and for that I use the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. This is in the shade Light 2 Vanilla, and I just lightly dip my brush into the pot and then begin by working that into the darkest portion of my under eye, which is the inner corner area. And I don't use this around the whole under eye. I mainly just focus this on the darker portions and then go back in with the Laura Mercier product to add more coverage. That way there's not like this super bright area on my face. That's the one problem I always notice myself having when not wearing foundation, is that if I applied all one shade of concealer under the eye, it looked very obvious that I was wearing concealer, but when I kind of blend it in with the face concealer, it looks a lot more even and cohesive. So I'm just going back in with that now. And then I wait to do the sides of the nose until after I do the eyes when I'm doing a no foundation base now, because then I can see how much concealer the nose needs. Because if I were to do my nose first, I would be like, oh, I need to put a ton of coverage there because it looks really red. But whenever I do the eyes first, it kind of like gives me a good gauge of how much I actually need. So that's all I do, and I feel like it looks very skin-like still and not too makeup-y while just brightening the area. You know, it doesn't look like I have a ton of coverage on, it just looks even and brightened. Also, one thing before I forget, when you use this kind of mixing concealer method, I recommend your brightening concealer to have a little bit of pink in it, because this is gonna help cancel out the darker area under your eye and neutralize it without you having to use so much product to get that brightening effect. And then to set everything, I cannot find my usual setting powder, so I'm just going to be using a little light layer of this Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. And I'm going to begin by focusing this at the inner corner of the eye and then bringing the excess out just a little bit. I don't want to cover up too much of that glow we did over there, so I bring it right to the corner of the eye and then kind of bring it right back in toward the nose, and then that's how I set that area. And then I also take a really tiny bit between the brows because I tend to get a little shiny here. And then the little bit extra I have left over in the lid here, I just take around the mouth. Moving into the eyes, I'm going to be using some of the Revlon So Fierce products. The first two are the Prismatic eyeshadow palettes in the shade Fully Loaded and the Big Bang. So first I'm taking this green shade from the Fully Loaded palette, and I'm just going to create a soft rounded edge to the eyeshadow. I felt like making this soft was easier and less intimidating for me than making the edge super sharp. It made it easier to get it the shape symmetrical on both eyes, and also made it easier when it came to blending out the shadow, because as you'll see in a second, I apply it with a flat, sharper brush, and I feel like because the edge was already soft, I was able to just kind of pat the shadow on and go. In regards to shadow formula, these have that really nice bouncy kind of gel powder texture, and because of that, I feel like the payoff and the way it blends and applies is just dreamy. Honestly, I'm applying it dry here, and it gives such an intense reflect. And because of that, they're really fun to use, honestly. Next, though, I'm going to be going in with this lightest tan shade from the Fully Loaded palette. And I'm just going to be blending this from like the inner edge of that green shade and all the way toward the inner corner. I wanted to use this shade to tie in the green with the gold that we're going to be using next. And as I blended this, I noticed that it was bringing out all of those little greenish turquoise glitters from that original green shade and creating this really pretty duochrome moment on the lid, which is something else I noticed with these shadows. They are all pretty prismatic, and by the time we get to the end of the shadow blending, you'll see that the look became this really dimensional, almost like multi-chrome eyeshadow moment, which I'm really into right now. But yeah, that gold shade I'm talking about is from the Big Bang palette, and I'm just taking this all over the inner corner and then onto the center of the lid, and then just taking the last bits of that pigmentation into the green. And as you can see, it created such a nice soft wash of those prismatic dimensional glitters. I really liked how it looked, almost as though the shadow was stamped on my lid, how it went from the super soft inner corner to the sharper outer edge. I feel like I still pushed myself out of my comfort zone with that shape, but it was ultimately still very wearable because of how soft it was. And to finish up the shadow shaping, I'm just applying that green shade beneath the lower lash, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit of concealer on a soft brush to make sure that that round edge is really cohesive. I felt like with it just applied like that, super blended out, it was kind of taking away the shape. So I just went in and certified that, if you will. And then I wanted to make it a little bit more editorial and do something else I wouldn't normally do. So I went in with the chrome liquid liner. This one's in the shade Ultraviolet Foil. And I just did 3 little dots beneath the brow. And I really like this brush, especially. I want to use this liner to do more of a graphic look next, because the brush is so dense but spongy that it had such ease of control. So I feel like it would be really easy to create some super unique graphic looks with it. But yeah, I just did these 3 little dots, and honestly, I noticed the formula didn't pick up any of the texture around my brow or my eyelid, and was super lightweight. Like, I didn't feel tightness where I had put the liner down whatsoever. It felt like nothing was there, which I really like in a liquid liner. And then for mascara, I went in with the big Bad Lash mascara. And first of all, I really like this brush. It is very big and very fluffy, and the formula, as you can see, this is like the first second that I'm applying it, gives you results so quickly, and also is so darkening, volumizing, and lengthening, all kind of in one fell swoop. Like, it just applies that way right away. And it also is super lightweight. I felt like I was able to get a really thick dark lash, and it genuinely felt like there was nothing on my lashes. They weren't heavy throughout the day. It didn't transfer throughout the day. It didn't flake at all throughout the day. And I just feel like it had all of those qualities I look for in a mascara all in one. And then to finish up the face, I went in with an old standby of mine, MAC Give Me Sun bronzer. And I just applied this across all of the normal areas where one would apply bronzer. And I picked this bronzer specifically because it has this really nice yellowy orange undertone that I felt really brought out the greens in the eyeshadow, and also helped those little dots of purple really pop. I feel like yellow really complements purple really well, so that undertone I felt really brought those out. For blush, I just went in with a quick wash of the Cosmetics Magic Hour blush, and this peach tone really complemented that bronzer, which ultimately complements all the tones on the eyes. I feel like peach goes really well with green, so it just worked out perfectly, and I also love this blush. I wear it with everything, to be honest with you. For the lip combo, I used Lawless Child lipstick, Cosmetics Kitten lip liner, and Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk lip liner. I wanted something pink and neutral, but I didn't have like one lip liner that was those two things because all of my lip liners lately have a lot of brown to them, so I decided to mix the two. So I'm first going in with the Charlotte Tilbury one to shape out my lips and make them a bit more symmetrical, and also obviously put down that little bit of pink tone. So yeah, just lining them with that and then filling them in a little bit, and then going in with that M Cosmetics liner. I basically went over the entire Charlotte Tilbury liner to neutralize that pink a little bit and make it more of a dusky pink, a little bit more brown, a little bit more muted, which again, I felt like a muted browny pink really brought out the greens and the yellows on the lid. And then lastly, I went in with that lipstick just in the center to add a little bit of dimension and a little bit more of a yellow undertone just to kind of tie everything in together. All right, everyone, that wraps up today. Okay, my bangs are driving me crazy. Hold on. I made the mistake of cutting myself quarantine bangs. I truly can't deal. I don't recommend. It's cute in photos, but in real life, it's too much tickling of the face. Once again, a huge thank you to Revlon for sponsoring a portion of this video. Very, very cool to be working with them. If you guys try out the palettes, let me know how you like those as well. But yeah, I hope that you guys stay safe and happy and healthy and have a great rest of the week. And we'll chat again in my next video. Bye.